Hello students, good morning dear.
Hello everybody, my name is Artha Yuni Situngkir and my academic
How are you
number
today?
1901030089 and I come from English Department in HKBP
I'm
Indonesia
fine
University.
too, thank you. And are you ready to continue our lesson for today?
Hello everyone, especially big thanks to our lecturer
Alright,
who
before we
give
start
us the
our
good
lesson,
opportunity
far
to
better
do
if
our
we pray
project.
first.
My name is Priscilia
Priscilia,
Hulu
please
and
read
my
our
NCC
prayer.
number 1901030103. I come from English Department in HKBP Indonesia University Pematang Siantar.
Amen. Thank you, Priscilia. Well, do you know what the topic that we discussed for today?
No, miss.
No? Okay, well, today we will discuss about the narrative text. Previously, have you ever heard of narrative text?
No, miss.
No?
No, miss.
Have you ever heard of narrative text before?
Yes, miss.
Okay, if you ever heard of narrative text, based on your opinion, what is the definition of narrative text? And give example or titles of narrative text that you have heard or read before.
Okay, miss. Narrative text is to entertain and interest the reader by presenting a story or event that has a problem that causes conflict. And example of title is Snow White, Magic Pot, Cinderella, and etc. miss.
Okay, thank you for your explanations, and that is correct, yeah. And before I press the further discussions, there is a text entitled Cinderella. And please read the text first.
Okay, miss. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful young girl named Cinderella. He lived with his stepmother and two sisters. They were arrogant and bad-tempered, treated Cinderella very badly. Her stepmother made Cinderella do the hard-best job in the house, such as scrubbing the floor, cleaning the pot and pan, and preparing food for the family. Her stepsister, on the other hand, did not work on the house. Their mother gave them many pretty dresses to wear. One day, a king invited a girl in his kingdom to attend a ball in his place. They were excited about this and spent so much time choosing the dresses they would wear. Cinderella could not stop crying after they left. Why are you crying, Cinderella? The voice asked. She looked up and saw a fairy standing beside her. Then Cinderella told her why she was crying. Well, the fairy said, "You have been such a cheerful, hardworking, uncomplaining girl that I will see that you go to the ball." The fairy turned a pumpkin into a coach and mice into a smooth suit coachman and footman, then they put Cinderella dressed with her wine, and it became a beautiful gown. Then he gave her a bed of pretty glasses. "Now, Cinderella," she said, "you have to leave the ball before midnight." Then he drove away a wonderful church. Cinderella had a marvelous time either. She danced again and again with the prince. Suddenly the court began to shake 12. He ran toward the door as fast as he could do. In very hurry, one of her dresses left behind. A few days later, the prince declared that he would marry the girl whose fitted the glasses suit. Cinderella's stepsister tried on it, but it was too small for them. No matter how hard they squeezed it, their teeth into it. In the end, the king's pack let Cinderella try the suit. She stretched her legs and clipped the shoes on the page. It fitted perfectly. Finally, she was inserted into a magnificent place and height. The prince were glad to see her again. They married and lived happily ever after.
Okay, thank you,
Finish, Miss.
Thank you, Priscilia. And I want to ask, after you read it, is it the text included in the narrative? And if you say yes, why you say that the story is
Yes,
narrative
Miss.
text? Why you say that the story is a narrative text?
Because because the text entertain and interest the reader by presenting a story or event that has a problem that causes conflict, Miss.
Okay, well, it's correct. And now, we want to know more about the narrative text. What is narrative text? Narrative text is a text that contains the story of an event that follows the author's timeline. Narrative texts are usually used as entertainment for the reader with various events as if the events were actually experienced by the reader. So, what is the purpose of the narrative text? The basic purpose of narrative text is to entertain and interest the reader by presenting a story or event that has a problem that causes conflict, and at the end of the story there is a resolution or a happy or even sad ending. Any questions so far?
No, Miss.
Is it clear for you?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, next. The next is generic structure of the narrative text. Narrative text structure consists of the first is orientation, complication, resolution, and the last is coda or reorientation. And here we will discuss what is the definition of orientation and example of the orientation based on our story before Cinderella. Well, orientation. Orientation is contains the introduction of the story to be appointed usually about the characters and other background. Let's take a look at the PowerPoint. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful young girl named Cinderella. He lived with his stepmother and two sisters. They were arrogant and bad-tempered. They treated Cinderella very badly. Her stepmother made Cinderella do the hardest job in the house, such as scrubbing the floor, cleaning the pot and pan, and preparing food for the family. Her stepsister, on the other hand, didn't work on the house. Their mother gave them many pretty dresses to wear. So here, the first paragraph contains orientation, because which is an introduction to the characters in Cinderella's fairy tale. Nah, jadi di paragraf pertama itu termasuk dia ke dalam genre struktur orientasi. Kenapa? Karena pada paragraf pertama inilah dijelaskan bagaimana karakter dalam cerita, bagaimana karakter Cinderella, bagaimana karakter ibunya, dan kedua saudaranya. Is it clear for you?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, next. Next is complication. Complication here is contains the core story that is marked by a conflict that occurs against the character of the story. Let's take a look at. One day, a king invited all girls in his kingdom to attend a ball in his palace. They were excited about this and spent so much time choosing the dresses they would wear, and Cinderella couldn't stop crying after they left. The second paragraph here contains the complication. Why? Which is a problem that arises when Cinderella is not allowed to go to the ball. Nah, jadi pada komplikasi ini disinilah muncul konflik dalam cerita. Nah, dalam cerita ini suatu hari raja mengundang semua gadis yang ada di istananya. Inilah yang menjadi awal masalah. Kenapa? Karena hanya Cinderella yang tidak diizinkan orang tuanya untuk pergi ke pesta dansa tersebut. Any question?
No, Miss.
Okay, next. The next generic structure is the resolution. Resolution here is the end of a story that is marked by conflict. Let's take She looked up and saw a fairy standing beside her. Then Cinderella told her why she was crying. Well, the fairy said, "You've been such a cheerful, hard-working, uncomplaining girl that I will see that you go to the ball." The fairy turned a pumpkin into a cock and mist into a smooth two-cock man and footman, then tapped Cinderella's dress with her wand, and it became a beautiful ball gown. So the third paragraph contains resolution, which is a problem solved when a fairy helps her. Nah, jadi pada resolusi ini disinilah muncul bagaimana menyelesaikan masalah yang ada pada komplikasi tadi, di mana si Cinderella tidak diperbolehkan ibunya pergi ke pesta dansa, tapi di sini muncullah bagaimana menyelesaikan masalahnya, yaitu seorang peri yang membantu Cinderella, sehingga Cinderella bisa pergi ke pesta dansa tersebut berkat bantuan peri yang menolong dan memberikan semua dari pakaian, dari delman yang digunakan, dan semua kebutuhan Cinderella yang dibantu oleh fairy standing beside her. Is it clear for you?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, next. The last one is coda. And the coda contains conclusion from the story. Let's take a look at the text. A few days later, the prince declared that he would marry the girl whose feet fitted the glass shoes. Cinderella's stepsisters tried on it, but it was too small for them. No matter how hard they squeezed their toes into it. In the end, the king's pig let Cinderella try the shoes. She stretched his legs and slipped the shoes on the pig. It fit perfectly, and finally she was ushered into a magnificent palace and hague. The prince were glad to see her again, and they married and lived happily ever after. And the paragraph, the last one, contains coda, which is a happy ending where Cinderella finally married a prince. Nah, jadi pada bagian coda ini adalah kesimpulan dari cerita. Apakah akhir dari cerita itu bahagia atau sedih? Nah, pada cerita Cinderella ini kita tahu bahwa happy endingnya itu they married and live happily ever after. Like that. Any questions so far?
No, Miss.
Okay, next. The language feature of narrative text. What is the language feature of narrative text? Let's take a look at. The first is using action verb and always use past tense and past continuous. Using noun, adjective, conjunction, and also using adverb. And here, there are the kinds of the narrative text. The first is fable. What is fable? Fable is stories that describe animals. And next, legend. Legend here is folklore that describes how the origin of a place happened. And the third is myth. Here, these mythical stories are widely circulated in society and are generally considered as factual stories. And next is fairy tales. Folk tales, which are usually referred to as fairy tales or children's stories, that contain many miracles in the characters of the story and often contain moral messages. And the next, folk tale. Folktale here is a story that is told from generation to generation so that it becomes part of the tradition of a society. And the last one is love story. In the love story, this love is more on the theme of the story, which contains the struggle to get love for the characters of the text. Any question?
No, miss.
If no, here I will show you a story and I hope you will pay attention to the story.
Okay, miss.
What is wrong, Tofu? I don't want to go to school today. Jim and Jerry took all the tokens I had collected for the charity and submitted it as their own. Now they're going to win the appreciation sticker. Don't worry about it, Tofu. Sometimes it's okay to let go of things and just hold on to the joy they brought you. I don't know, Tia. Do you know a nice story to help me believe? Sure. I'll tell you a story. Once upon a time, a poor farmer was plowing his field. When he hit something hard, it was a large metal pot.
What's this? A metal pot? I wonder if there is something more valuable underneath.
In the hope that he could find something more valuable, the farmer dug deeper and wider. Tired after hours of searching, the farmer decided to rest. He left his spade in the pot. And lay down under the tree. A while later, when he got up and went back to the pot, he was surprised.
How is this possible? The pot is full of hundreds of spades. I had left only one in it. Looks like this is a magical pot. Let me see what will happen if I put a mango in it.
Just as the farmer had thought, the one mango turned into hundreds of mangoes when he left it in the pot.
This is truly a magical pot. I will take it home and use it to tide over our troubles.
The farmer went home and hid the pot at a safe place. He then went to the market and sold the mangoes. He earned a handsome sum for them. On the way back, he brought some grains. He went home and put each one of them in the pot one by one. Soon he had enough of grains to last his family for the rest of the year. The farmer called his wife and told her everything that had happened. This is a blessing. We should use it wisely to become rich, but also keep it safely hidden. The farmer agreed with his wife. Over the year, he slowly started putting things in the pot: fruits, vegetables, textiles, and in some years, he turned around his family's fortune. Though they had been secretive and very careful about their magic pot, people started noticing how they had become rich. And soon their secret was out. It even reached the king's ears.
Such a powerful magical pot should be a part of the king's treasury. The farmer has no right to keep it. Only I have the right to own that pot. The king ordered the soldier to bring the pot to the palace.
The soldiers stormed into the farmer's home. And confiscated the pot. They brought it to the king.
Let me see what is inside the pot that makes it so magical. Once I find what it is, I will become 100 times more powerful.
The king peered over the pot and looked into it. As he did, he lost his balance and fell into the pot. As he fell, he hit his head on the edge of the pot and became unconscious. When he woke up, he saw that there were hundreds of kings like him. They all fought each other to get to the throne and died. Soon the news reached the farmer and his wife.
Should we get the pot back now? The king was foolish and his curiosity killed him. But it is not safe to keep the pot anymore. We have enough money and riches to take care of us and our many next generations. Let us leave the pot within the king's treasury.
Oh, thank you, Tia. That was indeed an inspiring story. And I feel much better now letting go of those tokens. Good to know that, Tofu. Now will you please finish your cereal so that we can go?
Well, after you watch the story, is it clear enough?
Yes, Miss.
Or something to ask?
No, Miss.
Alright, if not, here's a question based on the story. Let's take a look at PowerPoint and please answer the question. After I read the question, you quickly answered, so I was able to see your ability and understanding of our material for today. Is it clear for you?
Okay, Miss.
Okay, let's start with the first question. The first question: what kind of the narrative text based in the video?
I think the kind of the narrative text based in the video is fairy tales.
Why? Why you said that the
Because
video is the fairy tale?
because the text folk tales which are usually referred to as fairy tales or children's stories that contain many miracles in the characters of the story and often contain moral messages.
Okay, is it correct? And the next question: what is the topic of the story?
The topic of the story is talking about farmer Gopi live in a village. He have few acres of land, and he found a magic big pot and the end of the stupid king story taking magic pot in curiosity and eventually he died. He did.
Okay, the next question. Explain the structure of the story consists of the orientation, complication, resolution, and the last one is coda.
Alchemy is the first orientation. The orientation, once upon a time, a farmer Gopi lived in a village. He had few acres of land. One hot afternoon, the poor farmer was singing his field. All of a sudden, his pet hit something. Then he continued his singing. It is a big metal pot, said Gopi. It was big enough to boil rice for more than 100 people. It does not seem to be of any use to me. I will dig deeper. Maybe I will find something else. Thought Gopi. He continued to dig. And the complication is, after he had dug for a long time, Gopi felt tired. It is for it is of no use. There is nothing in this field, he thought. Then at once he drew the spade into the pot in frustration and sat under a tree to take rest for a while. After a while, when he got up to leave, he could not believe his eyes. There were 100 spades in the pot. This is a magical pot. I will put this mango inside the pot and see what happens. Gopi thought. Then Gopi puts a mango into the pot. To his astonishment, he found 100 mangoes in the pot. Gopi carried the pot to his home and kept in a secret place so that no one would become aware of it. After that, he put many things in that and everything became hundreds folds. With the pot, they became a rich man. The king came to know of the pot and its whereabouts. The king was curious to know about it, and he was a greedy king. I want to find out the secret of the magical pot. If it's valuable, it shall be in the king's treasury. The king talked. Then at once the king ordered his men to bring the farmer and his pot. And the resolution is, when the magic pot was brought to the king's chamber, he did not know what to do. The king thought, let me see what is inside this pot which makes this pot so magical. He peered inside. Inadvertently, he slipped and fell inside the pot. When he climbed out of the magic pot, he was shocked to find that there were 100 kings. And the coda, all the kings then started to climb the throne. They fought among themselves and did. The magic pot lay in the king's treasury. The foolish king took away the magic pot from me out of curiosity, and eventually he did. This magic pot has killed the king himself. The farmer and he, to be safe, left the magic pot at the treasury of the king itself. I think it's enough, sir. Miss.
Well, thank you. It was so clear. Thank you for your explanation. And the last question here, what is the moral message from the story?
I think the moral message from the story is greed always leads to trouble.
Alright, and I'm so happy because it's clear for you and you understand about the material. I hope that you always remember it and keep studying. Thank you, dear, and good morning.
Thank you, Miss. Good morning.
But before we close our study, please lead our prayer.
Our Father in heaven, thanks God for your blessing. Now we are finished to study. Please bless us, our lecturer, and our friends. Thanks God. Amen.
Amen. See you, dear.